My mama lied. You should be ashamed. You should be ashamed. You should be ashamed.
Welcome back, Jackson, Mississippi, and these United States to Crooked Collar. Make it make sense, Jackson. I am your honored host, Tariq Abdul-Tawwab, along with my esteemed co-host, aka KP, aka Young Man. So when you hear me say Young Man, I'm generally talking to my my Jacksonian co-host here, and not my esteemed director in the background, whose age mirrors mine a little closer. But welcome back to Friday. Welcome, Jackson, Mississippi. Welcome to all of our listeners, both home and abroad. This is, I think, our first week, KP, of our 5-day broadcast, right? We came to them Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We're here Thursday and Friday on We Believe Digital. And we just had I love being here with you all 5 days a week because it gives us a chance not only to follow up on things we've talked about, because an hour is not a lot of time to talk to you all, but also to respond to things that have happened and to new things that have jumped up. What do you say about that, young man?
Yeah, because we always overwhelmed with information in Jackson because there's so much going on, and just 1 hour to talk about it, like we said on the show at first, it's just not enough time. Even 5 days in a week is not enough time to talk about all this stuff. Absolutely, there's so much going on.
Absolutely, yeah. and especially when information is withheld a lot of times, meaning we find it through different routes that are not available to everybody mainstream. And then once you do that, then people are able to see things to a different direction. Yep. So I just think that, it's very important for us to be able to come to you all. And, as we start every show, especially with our new audience base, we hope that since the last time we spoke, you've done something progressive. And we hope and pray that as many of your loved ones that went out came back to you. And we'll go ahead and start the show with a brief moment of silence for those that did not. And then looking at, we're seeing a lot happen, young man. The gas prices are going up. I know we've got some news stories to skim across from a national standpoint. I don't want to take the story, but go ahead and let us know what's happening nationally, because we've got some things happening that are going to still affect us at home with this quote unquote war in Iran.
Well, for the most part, I want to say the Strait of Hormuz. The situation.
We're gonna fight with that. We're gonna keep fighting with that word, ain't we?
Strait of Hormuz. I don't know how to say it, but the situation with the oil supply line, basically like inflation stuff going up because of the war. Like we also, I believe, what was something else? The taxes also going up. No, it was something else you had mentioned. I forgot what it was. Was it?
We were talking about a few different things that were related to this war that just seemed to be announced hand by hand on our production meeting. We were talking about the cuts to child care that are happening, as well as cuts to SNAP benefits. These are coming hand in hand with war bills, asking for more money for the defense of the country in the middle of this war. We're starting to see SNAP benefits are being lost and child care benefits being cut as well. So these are effects, to your point, KP, that are going to be felt right here in Mississippi and throughout the United States.
Yeah, SNAP benefits, they getting cut fully, you said.
Hormuz. That was it. Yeah.
Hormuz. Did I say it right?
Yeah, you did. You did. I just wanted to let you know you're on point there.
But since it's the war is affecting us internationally, so of course when we get back local, in Mississippi, it's still the international effect affects the local effect, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that for us, everything is connected, but right now what you're seeing is a president that's declared a war of his own. Yeah. I think that I'm very surprised at knowing the history of this country. They haven't just called it Trump's war, as they used to call things Nixon's war and other, but he started a war. And one of the biggest things that he depended on apparently is for these other countries to have joined in and help him continue to attack Iran. And when most of them have pulled back and said, we're not going to do that, his plan has found itself in a very precarious situation. So, we had and that could be any of our siblings, but there was a plane crash where a plane was either shot down or crashed over Iran about an hour ago. And there was a 2-passenger plane apparently, and one passenger was found, or one pilot, was found, one wasn't. So now you're talking about just effects on the American public that go a lot deeper. because now you're losing family members and loved ones over a war that the majority of Americans just don't seem to be in support of, but the majority of Israelis or the Israeli government does seem to be in support of. That's the stark line we're at right now. And then you look at the fact that, the war is actually causing a lot of other bad effects on us as a community, to your point.
Mentally also.
Yeah. As our producer brought up before, you had a increase, change in the draft altogether, where now, if I'm correct, the draft age has gone up in the United States. So now you can be drafted up to an older age, and some other qualifications have been changed. So you're watching a whole societal shift here with President Trump in, and I don't think it's much more different than we see right here in the state of Mississippi with Governor Tate. I think the two are linked very closely, and the same bullying methods that we see with one, we're seeing with the other. And I think it's necessary to kind of correlate that. And as we continue to go through some of these stories about this war, I think that, it's going to be more than just us feeling it at the gas pump, but folks are feeling it at the gas pump.
Yeah, I mean, eventually, what else do you feel like they can attack? Like, I mean, I don't know exactly what they have control over, but it's dawning on me a lot what they have control over, and then I have to do more research on it. But will they also be able to affect like the airlines and stuff like that?
I mean, everything can be affected, but right now we're seeing the president affect everything, not so much the war, because it's not a war that another country has declared on us. So you're sitting in a situation, and that's a lot of times you hear folks that don't understand it speaking about it, but it's America and Israel have declared war on Iran. So you're seeing retaliatory action from Iran. That's just a reality. No matter what side you're on, you're seeing retaliatory action from being bombed. It started off with the school being bombed there. And you those of us that understand, and I mean, if you reach 40, if you reach 45, you've seen Israel yearning to attack Iran for the last, however long we've watched the news. So you fully understand that this is not something that I don't think anybody, I mean, even conservatives seem to be strongly against it. Anyone thinks is in the best interest of this country. Eventually you can definitely see an impact on us flying. You're already seeing an impact at the gas pump, and you're seeing where basically Iran is refusing to let anyone through the Strait of Hormuz because they're being bombed. That's their stance. And we as American citizens have to pay for it. And I think that it's something we're used to here in the United States, because this president, Trump, has been bullying the American citizens and the Democratic politicians since he's been in office. And I think here in Mississippi, we've always got to relate the two together. Here in Mississippi, with this legislative session, we're seeing the same type of bullying. And then what we've got to do at some point is correlate in what you saw happen at the UN, where you saw slavery in America being considered. Give me the exact wording.
One of the most atrocities things that happened. Was it America?
One of the worst atrocities that has happened in our history.
And Israel and U.S. and Argentina saying that it wasn't.
Those are the three that voted against it. So what it was just to be exact, the UN has voted that slavery in the U.S. was the gravest crime against humanity in human history. So now that's important. I mean, whether you're just looking at Mississippi news or looking nationally, worldwide, that's very important, because you're sitting in the home of slavery for all sakes and purposes. And we've touched on it before, but you've got to realize what it means to live in a state where historically they sent slaves to be punished. Meaning folks that were already enslaved in North Carolina or South Carolina or Virginia or other places, when they ran away or when different things happened, they sent them deep into the plantations of Mississippi. You'll never run away from there. And that's where we can apply our slavery practices the most effectively, right? So, you've got planters, you've got a tobacco background, you've got a long-standing, so to see the United States vote against it, Argentina vote against it, and then now you understand that first off, to see United States, the perpetrator of the crime, vote against it is concerning. To see Argentina vote against it is very concerning, because Argentina historically, and I looked this up, was a safe haven for racists and white supremacists, including giving asylum to Confederate soldiers after the Civil War and Nazis after World War II. So understand the background of the countries that voted against this. You've got Argentina, who is beyond a sympathizer. They invited in Confederate soldiers to protect them after the war, and they invited in Nazi soldiers after World War II. You have America, the perpetrator of the actual atrocity, and you have Israel, who a lot would say is lock, stock, and barrel with America in every way, shape, and form. That's our best friend. That's our ally, and we've helped each other in every way possible. So we watched as Israel committed a genocide against Palestine. At this point, I don't think anyone's denying that. You can't drop that many bodies. You can tell why you committed that genocide, but you can't deny that many bodies at this point. Yeah. So now you're in a position where you've got the three countries basically, and then now look what they're doing in Mississippi during this time, right? Let's go back to the birthplace of slavery here, right? So while this is happening in the United Nations, and this is the connection I make between President Trump and between Governor Tate, while President Trump is, I'm sure, pushing his contacts to ensure folks voted against this, right here on home base, Governor Tate is allowing the legislative process to churn through, removing us all of the protections almost that we've had here as African Americans, descendants of enslaved people. Again, that most atrocious crime against humanity, that enslavement, the descendants of those that went through that most atrocious crimes, we're now saying all of our protections against those crimes be removed here in Mississippi and throughout the Deep South. And that's why it's something that if you're not paying attention to, then you're going to be blindsided by what's happening.
You mean like you said the descendants of the people that caused the atrocities?
Well, no, us, the descendants of those that went through the atrocities. So us, we are seeing here in Mississippi as Black folk in a direct way. As Black folk, we're seeing all of the protections against that atrocious crime be removed through legislation. And this legislative session is one where you should, if you haven't sent an email to your politician, your representative, your mayor, your city council, then this is the voting side of it, right? So we have a lot of times on our previous shows where we've had some folks that vote in our community and our audience members that have punched down a bit on those that are looking at voter apathy and just don't want to vote anymore, right? And we facilitate that conversation. But on the flip side, those that rally so much for voting, well, what are you doing at this time when you see all of your rights being rolled back and all you see is your politicians, your elected politicians reporting back what happened? That means they're consistently simply telling you how we're losing, but with no absolute plan B or no. And this is the climate of today's Black politicians in Mississippi, especially. We're going to talk about home. This is the climate that we don't have to provide a resolution. We just have to talk about the big bad wolf, the big bad white wolf, and what he's going to do to us. And that's enough to motivate you to vote for us. You need this protection against him, even though you don't have a plan to protect us. Even though we still feel his bites, we still feel the effect of it. Now we're going back towards 1929, 1919. We're inching back between 1889 with some of these laws being changed. And we still don't see any protection come from any of the steps that our politicians are making.
One thing I'll say,
make it make sense.
And this, I took a little tab at, I just feel like it's a common ancestor within that diaspora of our people, that you always had those bunch of Blacks that want to pretend like they watchdogs to keep stuff out of the community and coming in and going out. And I want to evaluate to like a situation where if we can continue to spot the differences of the anarchy board of how it trickles down to that common ancestor, if we can form a chart to figure out exactly how it happens and who it is, what they affect and how it ends up in our community, like in front of us, and we are the ones that push back at it. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to evaluate to a point where it's simple so people can see exactly what we're saying.
Almost like a site that says, how did this happen?
Yeah.
So a law that's in effect,
like who
did it have to go through, right? In order for that to happen.
Yeah.
Did it go through my representative here, Zakiya Summers? Did it go through, are you in the Delta? Did it go through Benny Thompson? Did it have to go through my council with Tina and with all of these folks on it? With Brian and with Kenneth Stokes? What did it have to go through to get there? That's the first step, absolutely. And then we can have some type of dialogue with our politicians. And then that dialogue looks different. So when folks say to us, we're canceling to your point earlier, we're canceling the tiny house project that was going to home over 1/3 of Jackson's native population for $2.9 million. We're canceling that contract. Now the public can say to them, well, why would you cancel that contract, which was going to take care of 1/3 of our native homeless population and pay Clutch firm that $2+ million to figure out a plan when you already had it? So this is my cry to voters. If you're not saying that to your city councilman, this isn't what KP and Tarek want you to say. This is the reality of what happened. And this is the part of voting apathy that we've got to talk about. This is where voting apathy comes from. So the ones that aren't voting are watching the ones that are voting. We've been down this line of holding those that aren't voting accountable. So let's switch gears. The ones that aren't voting, maybe your own child, your nephew, your neighbor are watching you and notice that you just vote for somebody and they get to do whatever they want there in office. You don't think that contributes to the same voting apathy that you push down on people for showing? So we have to make sure that there's emails going out to your politician, to the ones you voted for, to the ones you elected. And we're always open to a different take if things are already being done. You can call us in here the same way we do every show. 601, I just lost it because my eyes are so bad. 601, give me 1 second because I want you all to call in if you have something to say. Go ahead, KP. I think that you're
601-387-2684.
That doesn't make any sense. And you could have pretended that it would take you a little longer to do that. You say you just wrote off, right off, letting me know where my vision's at. But no, I think that we've got to hold our politicians accountable. We're not going to ever switch up on the accountability part because that's what pushes us forward. But as we watch the nation changing, as we watch these decisions trickling down to us, as we watch the attack on rural health care happening, now all of those benefits that the government in Mississippi agreed to for these rural areas, they're rolling that back. Governor Tate is now reevaluating the rural health bills that were going to protect those folks in the rural areas from not having access to health care. So you're seeing this actually start to go down and down and down. And I think for us, we have to start holding folks accountable before we can start questioning voter apathy.
How easy do you think it is now for them now to hold people accountable? Do you think
I think it's very easy if we
better?
I think it's very easy. And I think the next portion of this show, guys, when we come back from commercial break, is going to be a representative or is going to be a test on whether or not, young man, we can as a community, right? But I think the only way you hold folks accountable is by live and active. When something's happening, you find out the information to say either change this or move out of that space, right? And so, we've talked to you all last week a lot. And after the second half of this break, we're going to go into this. We've got a special interview for those of you on the We Believe digital platform. So when we brought you the concern yesterday of the state of our fire department right now, big concerns. Our first was the administration leadership pushing a captain 4 positions past every division, district, assistant, past every chief position over to chief. And then us watching complaints come from within the fire department about the lack of safety, fire stations being shut down because folks don't want to pay overtime, and fire trucks being undermanned. And then we saw our city lose a $1.4 million fire truck. So because this affects us so much, when we come back from the break, we're going to have former Fire Chief Willie Owens back on, and he's going to answer some key questions that you all followed up with us on and that you all need to know to protect yourselves and your families. So we'll be right back after this commercial break. Make It Make Sense, Jackson, with former Chief Willie Owens.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, Keepers of the Knowledge for People Who Speak the Truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippiLink.com and click on Home Delivery.
SocratesGarrettENT.com is a diversified firm specializing in recycled aggregates and crushed concrete. SocratesGarrettENT.com's recycled materials provide the construction industry with significant economic and environmental benefits by recycling clean concrete rubble into M.DOT grade rock materials. Recycled aggregates and crushed concrete can be applied to driveways, road construction, bank protection, parking lots, general bulk fills, and more. By using SocratesGarrettENT.com's crushed concrete products, anyone from homeowners to general contractors can help reduce landfilled concrete waste, conserve natural resources, and gain significant economic savings on materials and disposal costs. For more information, please call 601-896-0084 or visit us online at SocratesGarrettENT.com.
Welcome back to the fastest growing show here in Jackson, Mississippi. Make It Make Sense, Jackson. I'm your honored host, Tariq Abdul-Tawwab, along with my esteemed co-host,
Keanu Perry,
and our special guest, who is, I will let him introduce himself very quickly.
I'm ex-Chief Willie Owens, Jackson Fire Department.
You're always going to be chief to a lot of us, Chief Owens. And I mean that, even though we know that the chief has retired recently. So you're going to get some very accurate, seasoned, and very, 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 very aware information from former chief who just left, who just retired from the department after how many years of service, Chief?
40 years.
48 years. That's a lot of time. But Chief, we brought you back on, and we appreciate you doing that. And this is our debut week, going 5 days a week at here with Thursday and Fridays at We Believe Digital. And we have somewhat of a new audience, which we're very blessed to have listening to us. Yeah. But we already brought the awareness yesterday with our audience about the conditions, the safety conditions, and some concerns they should have for their family and responses from the fire department, right? So we just wanted to bring you back and just ask you a few follow-up questions so that we could kind of make sure people understand that there is a lot of wisdom behind these concerns, and then maybe we can cry on our leadership to do something different.
I got you. Good. So yeah, thanks again for bringing me back on again. Of course, we was on at WMPR on last Tuesday.
That's right. That's
And,
right. And go back to the website and look at the show, and you can see everything the chief had to say there as well.
Right. And so I want to thank you all again for bringing me back on. Y'all have to excuse me. My voice sounds a little different. This allergy, this pollen is tearing me up.
No, I've had to take allergy medicine at night, Chief, just to be ready for the morning.
Yeah, right. Well, I do too. So yeah. But there were some things that weren't brought out totally on last Tuesday at the radio station, and there were some things that I wanted to say again. I want to reiterate that. I think the last thing that we talked about was the ISO situation with the fire department, and
That's right.
Of course, ISO is the Insurance Service Office, and they are located over in Rankin County. Now, I want to say that I'm going to eventually get some information to ISO because I believe that they need to know what's going on and what's not going on with the Jackson Fire Department. I said that on Tuesday, and I want to make sure that I reiterated that I'm going to do that. I do have information in hand, and it's not something that I've heard, it's something that I've seen.
Yes, sir.
As a matter of fact, I've gone over some of the information again today, and I told you all on Tuesday that with the number of fire stations that we have 21 fire stations in the city of Jackson. And out of those 21 stations, we are supposed to have at least 3 people on a piece of equipment. Now, let me clear something up too. Last week, Tarek, I said that we had 5 double company stations, but we actually have 6 double company stations.
Right.
So that means that we should have more people on duty.
And a double company station for the Jacksonians, that's a station that covers 2 different areas, right?
Well, well, it's 2 pieces of equipment at a station. You're either going to have a fire truck or a rescue unit, and you're going to have a ladder truck at those stations, at those what we call double company stations. A ladder truck and a fire engine or a rescue truck.
So then when we see a fire trucks responding, just to make sure the folks understand, when we see fire trucks responding to ambulatory emergencies, that's what one of those trucks is able to do.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Exactly. Yeah. Something I understand now, they're sending ladder trucks on some of these emergency response. I mean, as far as first aid calls, but I never wanted to do that because of the fact that ladder truck costs a lot more than that pumper or that rescue unit. And so I never wanted to do that. The maintenance on those trucks are very high. But anyway, if you can do your own math if you want to, but if you got 21 fire stations and you're supposed to have 3 people, at least 3 people on each piece of equipment, and by the time you add all that up, you should have at least 78 persons on duty in that 24-hour period. Now, that's with the 5 double company. I said it's 6 double company, so you really should have about 82 people on duty that particular day, and that's what NFPA requests, that we have at least 3 people on a piece of equipment. It should be 4 or 5 on some of those ladder trucks, but they say at least 3 on each piece of equipment. And when you add all it up, you can come up with 82 people on duty in a 24-hour period.
So
now,
we're talking NFPA, that's the National Fire
Protection Association.
Okay, so we're talking the standards that all paid fire departments for the most part go by.
All paid fire department, yeah, not volunteer. Now, if you volunteer, it's different. But all paid fire department should operate on the NFPA guidelines, National Fire Protection Association guidelines. And that's what they require. So
they require at least 3 to 4.
They require at least 3.
At least
3 people on each piece of equipment.
So tell folks a little bit, because I want them to understand the true safety concern behind what you're saying, Chief. Tell me a little bit about what can happen when staffing on something like a fire truck falls below the number recommended. Well, you've done this for 40 years.
Absolutely. If it falls below the minimum number of personnel on that piece of equipment, then you cannot operate properly. You cannot. for instance, say if you have a house fire, and that engine company pulls up to that fire, then you should have at least 3 people. You should have a captain, you should have a driver, and you should have a firefighter, what we call a firefighter. Now, if you should never go inside of a burning building unless you have at least 2 people, and that would be the captain and the firefighter. Now, first of all, if you don't have but 3 people on that piece of equipment, when you pull up there, that firefighter, if you got to catch a fire hydrant, that means he's got to catch the fire hydrant, and the captain has to wait for him to finish that before he can go in.
So you're adding time to the actually putting the fire out.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. So you just think about it, if you don't have but 2 people on a piece of equipment, you cannot go into a fire. And when you pull up on a fire, and if it's really burning, you have citizens out there saying, "Hey, what y'all gonna do? You know, what y'all gonna do? You gonna stand there and look at it?" Well,
They have no choice.
they don't have no choice because it's a safety issue. So you cannot operate properly. And it's my understanding, and I know it because I see it now. You have one person driving a ladder truck to a fire. One person. Now, the ladder truck that burned the other last week or whenever it was, you had 2 people on there, but 2 people cannot operate that truck properly. Ladder truck should have at least 4 people, really. Three people not enough on a ladder truck, but you should have at least 3 and 4 in order to operate it properly.
And just to make sure you all understand what we're talking about, and I thank you, Chief, for letting me jump in with you here. We're talking about the recent fire truck, the ladder truck, over 1.5, 1.9, over $1 million fire truck that burnt up. And we're talking about the fact that when you look at that article in the paper, and please correlate, we're not wasting our time, we're not wasting the former chief time, and we're definitely not wasting your time. Please correlate what the chief is talking about with the recent actual incident where we saw a fire truck that's over $1 million burned. Right. So, Chief, just going into that. So that fire truck we know is only that ladder truck, which as well seemed to have been the favorite ladder truck of Jackson's fire department.
Right. Exactly.
That fire truck was manned with 1 to 2 people. The news said that. So we're saying that should have had at least 3 to 4 people on there.
Yes, at least 3 to 4 people.
So I was going to ask, so with the declining of the responsibility in the fire department, you know, with the staffing shortage and the equipment losses, what's some things you want to tell the residents that they should prepare themselves for in case this happens again?
Well, first of all, they should voice. I'm telling the public and I'm telling the residents in the city of Jackson that this is what's going on, right, with the Jackson Fire Department under this leadership, the mayor's leadership, and this guy that got in the fire chief office. This is what's going on, and I'm telling you that it's happening. It's not something that I dreamed up, something like that. It's happening, and you should voice your opinion. I've had people when I was in the fire chief office, the first time I went, I had a station that had been shut down, Station 3 on Fortification Street. They were slowly working on that station for whatever reason. I had citizens over there calling me saying, "Chief, when you gonna get that station open? You know, we need to get this station open. Right. This is in our area, and we need to sign." I said, "Well, look, I have that station running out of Station 1. I mean, the staffing running out of Station 1. They said, "Yeah, but does that take a little time to get to where I am?" Yes, it does. But you know, that's the best we could do at that particular time. I'm telling you all that's what you need to do. You need to voice your opinion. You need to call whoever you need to call, your city council, your mayor, the mayor, and whoever, and let them know that, hey, Chief Owens, ex-Chief Owens, saying that these fire stations are being shut down, these units are being shut down, and it's going to cause a bigger problem eventually in the future.
That's right, and understand what was being said here, right? So that we can't slide away from this and say we didn't know. And God forbid, and hopefully it never happens. But when the chief is talking about fire stations being shut down, to reiterate what the reports, and not rumors at this point when they come from inside the fire station itself and the fire department, the reports are that instead of paying overtime at fire stations, so the fire station closest to you, what the chief is referring to,
right,
that you've got 4 people to call out for overtime, right? You just heard the chief go over the number of people you need to have working at all times in order to safely respond to fires. So what we're hearing is happening now in your areas is that 2 to 3 people take off a vacation, 2 to 3 people take off sick. One may start a new FMLA case today, which is federally protected. Now you have the choice of either paying overtime Well, you don't have the choice. You pay overtime and you keep it open.
Exactly.
But what the reports are is that in your neighborhoods, that instead of paying the overtime, the current fire chief and the current administration are allowing the fire stations to shut down overnight.
Yes.
So that means if you live 6 minutes from fire station A, and they decide that, you know what, I'm not going to pay the overtime because we've got the overtime. I'm not going to pay the overtime, right? So now when your house catches on fire, God forbid, now they've got to come from a whole different area.
Exactly.
And if I'm correct, Chief, these areas are designed to respond in an efficient amount of time.
An efficient amount of time. I always said that we should be at any place in 5 minutes or less. 5 minutes or less. If you look at NFPA require, they say 4 minutes. If you look up NFPA, you'll see that they say 4 minutes, but we say 5 minutes. Our unit should be on a scene wherever they have to go, no less than that. But if you got a staff shortage and you move those people, hey, it's going to take longer because they're coming from another area, and so it's going to take longer. Now, you heard me say that you should have at least 82 people on duty in a 24-hour period in the city of Jackson. I went through some of the paperwork today, and I saw one day, a 24-hour period, only had 61 people.
Hold on, so let's pause there for a second, because that is gigantic in terms of the public understanding the safety impacts. So
Right.
we've already covered, in order to respond to fires in a timely manner in our city, we should have at least 82 people on this. So you found that there have been at least an incident where we had 3/4 of that at about 60 plus people?
Yeah, 61 people. That's what I found. And now I've been told that they have had less than 60 people on. I haven't pulled it up yet or looked at it yet, but I've counted myself today. Only 61 people on duty in a 24-hour period, and that is totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable.
Yeah, you can't respond to an emergency in that way. Now let's bring this into an intersection here, folks. Right. So we're a complete show here, right? So when you talk about staff, before folks can start yelling about not able, let's talk about the staff morale, which right now from inside the fire department, they're reporting that it's been the lowest that they've seen it in over 30 years.
Right.
Now these are the reports coming from to us. So if you don't watch it, go watch the shows. Listen to the callers, and you hear callers talking about their family members being suspended for speaking out against some of the practices that are happening, being moved 30, 40 miles away from their original point, and taking care of sick family members, being suspended for days, being presented with hostile work environments within the Jackson Fire Department. You have callers that have called our show. This is not even what the chief is saying. It's called our show and said, my uncle, my father is looking to see when they can, what do you call it, when you push your retirement up as much as you can to try to get out as soon as you can? They look to see how many years they have.
Yeah, your highest 4 years is what they try to do.
So you're seeing an exodus and the lowest morale in the last 30 years happening in our fire department, and you've got to stop it. I'm going to stop for a second, and then Chief, I'm going to have you come back in and kind of reiterate before we close out. But I want to stop for a second, and I want to say there's a certain point where we have to get involved in understanding what's happening to us and in standing up and saying this isn't okay. So when you see this, the lowest morale, folks fleeing out, the other caller said, well, all the people I know in the fire department are trying to take all their sick days. Remember, KP, they're trying to look at, see whatever they have. I come from a customer service environment. I know what that's like when folks are like, I got to get out of here. What do I have sick-wise? So while that's happening, we've got to look at the reality that district chief, assistant chief, every position that has the title chief in it was passed over by this current administration. I don't blame those that are being moved up. You're going to take advantage of any situation you can take advantage of. Any of us are going to do that. Someone all of a sudden says to the person taking calls saying, thank you for calling the company. Guess what? I want you to run the whole company now. They're going to jump and try to do it. So the fact that you pushed this current captain that had a few people under him past every chief position into our fire chief, and now we're talking about only seeing 1/3 of the fire department on our staff at any certain time. And then we find out that there's an exodus happening where folks are trying to take as much. This is the atmosphere for disaster, Chief, is it not?
Exactly, absolutely, it is. And God forbid, it's gonna happen eventually if the trend keeps up the way it is. Something is going to happen seriously. Somebody going to seriously get injured, or God forbid somebody die. But
I mean, you've had a fire 4 days ago at Magnolia Apartments that almost killed somebody. This fire truck situation right here where we talked about that fire truck getting engulfed by flames could have killed somebody. So, I mean, I think that it's continuously happening, Chief. It's already happening, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I just hate to see it, and I hate to say it too, but it's going to happen. I mean, this guy just this guy does not know what's going on. He does not know what he's doing.
I want to ask you, Chief. You've been 40 years as the ex-fire chief. Have you ever seen times like this in Jackson, Mississippi?
Never have. And matter of fact, I have firefighters saying, "Chief, man, have you ever seen a fire truck burn up before?" I said, "No, that's the first time I've seen one burn up, except for 9/11." You know,
Wow. Yeah, no, that's
yeah. I've never seen one burn up anywhere else like that. I mean, it could have happened in other cities, but I haven't seen it. I haven't heard of it. I'm talking about a big ladder truck like that, $1.4 million ladder truck
$1.4 million
that burned up, and not that wasn't the only one. Now there was another one that burned.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, there was another one that burned beyond repair, for what I've been told. 3 trucks burned. 2 of them, 2 of them is non-repairable, and 1 is repairable. So
we've had 3 trucks burn.
Yes, 3 trucks burned at that fire that night. 3 trucks. And check this out. They all weren't parked in the same place. They weren't positioned in the same spot. So the wind, when the guy said the wind caused that fire, I said no, the
That's
wind
right.
didn't do that.
That's right,
That was
you did
not
say
the
that.
wind. It was because the truck was understaffed and had inexperienced persons on there. Now that's what happened.
And to me, this is, again, and I appreciate you, Chief, for your honesty. It behooves you in no way, benefits you in no way to speak out unless it's the truth. And I know that your discussion is not paid for. It comes from concern for your city.
Right.
Now, what the young man and I have touched on over and over again, and we had to beat this into the district. These are the positions that you generally go through, right? I mean, moving around some for some cities, right? But district chief, division chief, deputy chief, assistant chief. You have to understand that you have to compare it to you being at a restaurant, and the person that is literally hosting people or letting them in, all of a sudden, with a snap of a finger, they are now controlling purchases, inventory, hiring, firing, HR. They're over the entire company. And this isn't a blow to them, because at the beginning, they're going to work their way up. Chief, the current chief, Rashawn Thomas, could have been an amazing fire chief had he been given the time to go through the same experience that this man and every fire chief, mind you,
Right.
we have not found an incident where this has happened in any paid fire department in this country yet.
It bothers me because he basically just said Jackson is a joke, because you didn't want to take the time to actually take the step to, actually bend those 4 ranks. You wanted to skip and just to get to a face value look like, oh, I can do this. No, you can't.
And understand the young man's point. What he's talking about is the fact that that current mayor John Horn reached out to prior chief Owens and said to him, well, what's your opinion on who should become chief?
Right.
You've got to understand there was chances to avoid this. We've got to stop looking at a fire or a situation like, oh my, that just happened. So he asked the former fire chief, which is customary of any city where a mayor moves in and the chief is as loved by the people and as trusted by the people as this chief was, right? Because he gave them the truth, no matter whether times were struggling or whether they were great. So he asked him, who should I put as the new fire chief? He tells him, my assistant fire chief, Patrick Armour, right?
Yeah,
He actually goes for Armour, excuse me. He actually goes as far as to tell him, if you don't and you go beneath that level, the city's going to be in trouble.
Yeah, I told him. And yeah, because see, I was told that, hey, John Horn said if it ain't broke, he ain't gonna fix it. And I said, well, if he don't do what I say, it's gonna be broken. I told him that.
If it's not broke, don't fix it. So
Yeah.
you move somebody you go from having a trusted 40-year experienced fire chief to moving a captain. So you've got to understand, a fire is not making burgers or making food. You can't just slide into understanding fires and how to contain them and how to handle personnel and when to pay overtime and when not to, and understand it's not okay to shut down a fire station because you don't want to pay overtime and look good with the overtime. But
Yeah.
that's what happens when you move somebody past 4 positions. I don't expect that window washer to all of a sudden understand he shouldn't have bought those nuggets right before a season when folks generally don't buy a lot of chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand that because he hasn't been in that position.
Yeah.
So now what we're seeing is this chief, and we've got to put the onus where it's at. He's the chief at this point.
Yeah.
We're seeing this chief make decisions that seem to be putting our entire city in danger.
Absolutely. And here's the thing too. Like I said, this guy, in order to be a fire chief, you have to know your budget. You have to know personnel. You have to know equipment. You have to know all this stuff. Being in a captain position, you're not learning this stuff. You don't have to deal with it. So this guy had the opportunity to take a test, which was the next position up above captain, which is a district chief test. He had the opportunity to take that district chief test, and he refused to take the test. He would not take the test and sat there in that captain's position. And I don't know how he got in with John Horn, but he did. And John made him a fire chief. That was the worst thing that could ever happen in the city of Jackson, was to make this guy a fire chief from a captain's position, because you don't know anything. You really don't. And so you got to have some help. You got somebody got to help you, because you really don't know. And if you don't know, and then if you try to make a decision on your own and you don't really know what's going on, you're gonna make a bad decision. And that decision is now trying to save your overtime budget. And I say, hey, you need to spend your overtime budget, because if you don't, you're going to get somebody killed or somebody hurt, seriously hurt. And so that's what you need to do. You need to go ahead and spend the money. I know when our budget season come around, he's going to sit up there and say, well, look, I saved my overtime. I didn't have to spend this overtime money. Yeah, you should have, because somebody going to get seriously hurt or injured some way, and you're going to be blamed for it.
And just to see there be a comparison, and this is you will not relax on this. This is your property, your house, your family, your loved ones that we're talking about here. Let's bring it back to what it is. So what we're saying is that these are the decisions being made, and unfortunately, with this one, Mayor Horn's willingness to reach out to the chief and then to take his advice and to throw it out of the window is something you should be greatly concerned about.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, you can't just keep ignoring malicious intent. And malicious can be by negligence. It's still malicious at a certain point, right? Gross negligence.
Yeah.
That's when you sue somebody and they determine they were so grossly negligent. That's where our mayor and our current city council, this is Tariq Abdul-Tawwab saying this, that's where they are right now, at the gross, at best, because the fact that you could even consider not paying overtime. And we talked about how the previous mayor, Tony Yarber's mother's house burned, and we talked about when that happened publicly, folks were questioning a 20-minute turnaround time. Folks in the community were questioning that. And now when you hear things like this happen, you ask yourself, well, what was happening when that took place?
Yeah.
And is that representative of what's going to start happening with us? And it's a fear that goes through you when you are at work or when you're trying to take care of your business and your family's at home, and you know that leadership twofold just doesn't understand how to lead. And that's not a blow to the young man. That's the reality of being a captain.
Well, the other thing about it is, when he was going through confirmation hearing with city council, one of the council people asked him, what do you want? Do you want to increase your budget? And he said, yeah, I need to increase my budget. And they said, boy, what you want? And he said, $77,000. And even Ashby Foote said, $77,000. You mean you don't want for $77,000? You got 21 fire stations. That's less than $4,000 a station. He says, you sure you don't want? No, that's what I need. Well, they talked about fire stations not being repaired. I had gotten $190. I think it was $193,000 to repair one fire station with. $193,000.
Yes.
To repair one fire station.
One fire station.
And he was saying he wanted $77,000 to repair all of the station, and that can never happen.
And this is the fire chief asking for this.
Yes.
So this is when we talk about, and thank you, Chief, and we appreciate that as we start to get towards it. This is where we talk about, when we're going to jump back in, make it make sense Jackson style, right? This is when we talk about the Mississippi Shuffle. This is when we talk about the theory of pay to play, right? The theory of pay to play. Make it make sense. So you're a captain over two people. You come out and publicly support. This is no different than Prado. The way it rolls out is no different than Gabriel Prado. You come out, you publicly, remember the firefighters, not all of them together. You had a group of firefighters that came out and support. They have every right to do that, legal. They came out and said, we publicly support Mayor Horn, right? Horn for mayor, right? Now, once that public support goes through and Horn wins, now all of a sudden you take a captain. This is what, remember when you asked me that question, what does it look like? Remember we were talking about the difference between, oh my goodness.
Nepotism?
Yes, nepotism. And then our producer was saying, well, this is when you just put your friends on. So you support him publicly. Now I'm going to say this, and then you get moved up 4 positions. You make it make sense, Jackson.
Yeah.
This is what you're not going to get from this show is stupidity. That's one thing you'll get us off there before you ever get that from Tara or from KP, the young man. You're not going to get stupidity from us. So you come out and support him. And then you get moved 4 positions past, unprecedented. Actually, no. Remember the gentleman called us from New Orleans? Yeah. It has happened once before. The older firefighter said the one time he saw it, another firefighter called our show, 45 years on the job in New Orleans. And he said the only time he saw it happen, the firefighter, the chief had to be forcibly removed based off of the bad decisions he was making.
Right.
The only other time we were able to find in these United States when a paid fire department moved a captain 4 positions past, and again, I just think it's important to understand that they're moving them past district chief, division chief, deputy chief, past assistant chief.
Right.
That means you've held no title that has chief in it. So you come out with some of your friends and you all support Mayor Horn. I mean, I would do it too if I could. I would do the right thing with it, but I would do the same thing if I could pay to play. You support Mayor Horn. Mayor Horn turns around and then, against former Chief Willie Owens' advice, moves Rashawn 4 positions past captain up to the chief of the whole shindig.
Yeah. Can I say this? I don't want to interrupt y'all. So if you take that incident of Mayor Horn, Chief Owens telling him, you know, I've been on in the department 40 years, telling him who's the perfect assistant chief for this job, and him taking what you said and just brushing it on the table. You got to take that same mannerism of Horn being who he is and put it into the water system, and put it into the stadium, and put it into the airport.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
That's right.
He ain't gonna take none of this
Excellent point,
serious.
young man.
Right.
Excellent point, young man. And now you're hearing it. These are those moments, to the young man's point, that you have a choice of saying, and we've removed the ability for you to cry foul when history talks about it. We've removed the ability, and I'm talking to you, Jackson, right now, especially to those of us that are in decision-making positions or have businesses or can actually move things, especially my voters and those that are going to vote. You're not going to be able to turn to your nephews and nieces and turn around and say, well, I don't know what happened, baby. We just lost the city. No, you're going to say, we knew. Former Chief Willie Owens came on and showed us the shuffle that the KP and Tarek were talking about, and he's a trusted man, and we understand that he's telling us what he sees. So now you're seeing that same thing happen with the fire department. He was handled, and I feel for my former chief because he deserved more respect than that. Now, this is my personal feelings. As a member of one, and this is me saying this, the chief has never said this out of his mouth to me. This is Tarek, and I've said it before. We're the other 99 black men. I say the chief is a member of 100 black men. And I'm telling you this just because it's real. He's never brought this up. He's never complained about this. Y'all know how I talk if you listen to us. I say that you a member of 100 black men. Where were the other 99 black men when you were sitting up here being drugged, your advice not being listened to, and it's putting the rest of us at danger? I see 100 black women coming out. You can speak up as well. It doesn't just take the black men's side. We got both organizations. This is what accountability looks like. When you see one man stand up and you see everyone else staying quiet. Well, they say evil thrives when good men stay silent. And I have a different take. I say evil thrives when evil men stay silent because you're evil till you do good. You're not good staying silent. And some of you think that, oh, I've got to pray to God on what I should do about it. God already told you what to do about it.
Yeah.
Speak up. When you don't do that, you stand on the side of evil.
Exactly.
And when that day comes, some of you, I know I'm 50 and I know our life expectancy isn't always guaranteed. Some of you think you're passing through those pearly gates, and I'm here to tell you, you are not. You're not going to walk in there with a bag of secrets that could have helped your people push back. This man is not walking into there with a bag of secrets, and I pray he walks in when he does go in 30, 40 years. But you're going to walk into there with that bag of secrets you're keeping from your job. Remember that older gentleman that talked about working for Ross Barnett and used to sit on that gold toilet? And Ross Barnett used to joke with him and say, man, they would go crazy if they saw a Negro. I'm sure he didn't say Negro. I'm sure he said nigger. Yeah. They go crazy if they saw a nigger sitting on that toilet. There's a lot of problems we have with that brother being proud of that story. But one of the biggest things we say is that's what you're going to bring to your legacy, that you sat on a toilet. Did you give any of that information to any of the groups pushing back against segregation at that time? Did you raise the alarm? Did you save some of that racial information so that when we had a chance to fight back, we would be able to do that? No. And now you see what's happening nationally. The UN has just said slavery is one of the worst crimes against humanity that's happened. And all of those different things you could have picked up would have been used. So from a large level to a small level, folks are going to have to stand up and understand that it's happening to you now. It's not something that has happened or that could happen. It's actually happening. We've just almost lost 3 fire trucks. We just had an apartment fire where we almost lost lives, where the residents are angry for good reason. We've just watched a captain support a mayor and then get moved 4 places past every chief position to run our fire department. We watched Gabriel Prado support our mayor and then be able to gentrify Jackson with Prado lofts at prices no one in Jackson can afford, and then take over all of the gas stations under the name of Don Gabriel gas stations, selling things 30, 40% above what we can afford. And they're marketed to all of you legal people, JSU, Alcorn, Valley State. I love you. I'm calling your legal departments out. Go look at someone from one of these schools. Go look at Don Gabriel Markets. Go into the Secretary of State, Michael Watson's website, pull it up and look at the initial filings and see that it's filed as supermarkets and other not convenience stores. And for that to be filed that way, there's supposed to be deli, there's supposed to be meat. It's not there. You're watching a gentrification and doing nothing to call it out. And you got two people sitting here screaming at you that it's happening, and you want to just sit there and turn your face and then go drink wine at the nice restaurant downtown because you can afford it while the masses get left behind. But we're changing history. We're going to make sure that you can't do that. And when those young people make it through these situations, while you see they're sitting in the city, got the nerve to spar over whether they should close Rebelwood down or not. Well, you have a mayor that bragged to you, my relationships across the aisle, my legacy, my experience in the housing and urban development, my experience on the peer review board. And I hope some of you intelligent people look that up. That means he sat on the police board over Sean Spivey and over the Mississippi Housing Corporation that doled out all this money to Chapel Ridge and Rebelwood, and we didn't see any improvements, right? He sat on all these boards, and now the question is, should we shut down Rebelwood? You see how we just skip over, should we hold your friends accountable? Because Chip Triplett donated to you, Mayor Horn. Chip Triplett was with Unicorp. That's one of the biggest builders of slumlords. He donated to you on your campaign donations, and you told us these relationships would help us. But now we're seeing your friends get off. And we're seeing Jackson with a captain over our fire department, our water gone, our airport land gone, our children looking at 17 schools shut down, and all you can do is help the private schools get better vouchers, and all you can do in the meantime is run around with Jeff Good from Downtown Jackson Partners and dress up as a little leprechaun and throw candy out the back of cars and scream, Jackson is rising, Jackson is rising, Jackson is rising. And I'm not being facetious. That's real, and that's what's happening to you. If you like it, I love it.
And the zoo is going to be gone. And Jackson ain't gonna get a dime for it.
Not a dime.
They're gonna move it.
When I say crackhead, you have to understand that is not, look up what a crackhead is. It's in the book. You all want to be mad when I say a word, but you won't look up the definition of that word and understand crackhead behavior is when you sell off anything of value as quickly as you can and you take the lowest bid for it. Do you like that better than crackhead behavior? You take everything you can and sell it off at the lowest possible price, and you don't care about how that affects the people that are in the house. So a crackhead is going to take your TV, your refrigerator, your toaster, your curling iron, your mother's earrings. Even if they don't work enough, you're not going to be able to operate as a house when they leave. It's happened to us before. We all had that in our family. And that's what our mayor and city council are doing right now. They're selling off every cash-making asset of the city like fiends.
Yeah. That's it.
And if you like it, I love it. That doesn't mean I love it. We're going to continue to speak out. But at a certain point, you cannot get but so many signs before you have to be that person on the roof that said, God said, I'm going to send you help. A boat comes by and says, I'm here to help you. Chief Willie comes on and tells you what's happening. You say, that's not what I'm looking for. I believe it's going to be a parachute. All of these different mechanisms of telling you what's happening are coming by. Gabriel Prado is getting off on a city. He's building up all of Meadowbrook and State Street, right? Connecting Fondren to North Jackson. You see a whole city being built within a city. Bavanasi, the mayor's bragging about another Indian gentleman, Bavanasi, bought up 500,000 square feet of downtown, right? 500,000 square feet of downtown. And then you see the mayor come on and actually brag that Bavanasi bought up that square feet, right? And now we're seeing him talk about bringing in good tenants, not tenants that live here. So you're watching a city being created within a city that we're going to have no access to.
Yeah.
Any last words, Chief Owens, that you want to let the people know about their safety, about what they should do, about what's happening?
Yeah, I want all of y'all, I hope you were listening, and I want you to call your city council and the mayor's office and complain about this short staff in the fire department. Please do that, because if you don't, if it doesn't change, something will seriously happen.
If you see something, say something.
Yeah.
That's going to have to be Jackson's analogy. Yeah. We're going to look at everything that happened over the weekend. Chief Owens, first off, we really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule. You're supposed to be relaxing. We appreciate you fighting for this city. And Chief has agreed at any time that you have additional questions that you may need within his schedule to come back on and continue to support the city.
Absolutely.
So we appreciate you all over the weekend. We'll be back on 90.1 Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right back here at We Believe Digital, our new home, Thursday and Friday. For my co-host, and myself, Tariq Abdul-Tawwab, continue to make it make sense. If you want to look at any replays, jump on our Facebook page, Make It Make Sense Jackson JXN, or jump on We Believe Digital right here, and you can see the replays of our show. You can see other information on our homepage. Continue to make it make sense, Jackson. We'll see you Monday. I'm on 5 days now. We love you, Jackson. We're out.
Might be on 7 days.
Might be outside. You never know what's coming, right? We appreciate